the Registrar in charge of the VNSGU South Gujarat University, Dr. Jaideep Chaudhary ji, the Dean of the Faculty of Management Studies, Dr. Snehal Mistry, my gurus, principals of colleges, heads of departments, faculty members, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. A very good morning to all of you. Namaste, Suprabhat. On behalf of the Department of Business and Industrial Management, VNSGU South Gujarat University, Surat, and the DBIM-SURAT Alumni Association, a very warm welcome to you all. Today, we are celebrating 51 years of the Department of Business and Industrial Management, 51 years of excellence in education. A milestone which requires now a lot of introspection. The reason being, we are facing today unprecedented challenges. Before we go further, we would like to pay homage to our founding fathers, all those who have given us roots and wings to fly. I tribute to all the policymakers over the period of time at the university level, our faculty, industry, alumni spread across the world who have helped us in this endeavor. Today, if we talk about the VUCA environment, the volatility, the uncertainty, the complexity and ambiguity that we see in the world today, I would like to refer to Peter Sanchez's book, The Fifth Discipline, a seminal book where he talks about developing personal mastery, a special kind of proficiency, being self-aware about your deficiencies, your incompetency, your ignorance, as also your growth areas and being self-confident. He refers to adaptive learning, which has to be combined with generative learning, developing a capacity to create. And for this, one needs to go for lifelong learning. Continual learning mode is what is required to do. We all today know that to be future prepared for technologies that have not been invented, for jobs that have not been created, for solving problems which have not been patented for, we require some different kind of a mindset, and that is having a learning attitude. The theme of this particular seminar, the webinar that we are today attending, is the future of learning, how the world is changing the way it upskills itself. And we have an excellent speaker who has been in the field of training, development, Mr. Kedar Vashi, Director, Talent, Learning and Leadership at Hindustan Coca-Cola Beverages. Once again, on behalf of the department and the Alumni Association, I welcome you all. I'm sure the session will be extremely interactive and interesting. Now I would like to hand over to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, a very dynamic person who believes in doing rather than words, just words, a go-getter, a person who makes things happen. He has been a great motivation force for us to organize this particular webinar and has unflinchingly given his support for organizing this event. Thank you so much, sir, for being with us. And as a token of appreciation, please accept a small.
Oh, but
Jubilee, please. Thank you, sir, so much for being with us today and for inaugurating this particular function.
Thank you, our University Head of the Department, Dr. Ranukame. Madam, I am also a student of DBIM, so I am also alumni of this particular department. First of all, welcome to our own very alumni Kedar Vasiji. And at present, we are with Anand Patnagar ji. और हमारे साथ है वर्चुअल में गांगुली जी है, हमारे डीन है स्नेहल मिस्त्री जी, और हमारे इंचार्ज रजिस्ट्रार जयदीप भाई चौधरी जी, आदरणीय डॉक्टर मनीष भाई सिद्धपुरिया जी, और बाकी जितने भी अपने साथ जुड़े सभी को अपनी यूनिवर्सिटी की ओर से प्रणाम, वंदे मातरम। ज्यादा कुछ नहीं कहते हुए माननीय वड़ा प्रधान वंदनीय नरेंद्र भाई मोदी साहब का यही एक गुजरात को और पूरे इंडिया को, भारत को ऐसा कहा गया है कि $1 ट्रिलियन इकोनॉमी के लिए आप जो भी करना है कीजिए आप। तो गुजरात गवर्नमेंट ने हर एक को अलग अलग पहलू है। हमें आनंद और खुशी की यही माहौल है कि अपने के लिए हॉस्पिटैलिटी और टूरिज्म 2 फैक्टर्स में हमें काम करने के लिए वो न्योता दिया है कि आप अपनी यूनिवर्सिटी की ओर से पूरे गुजरात का टूरिज्म और हॉस्पिटैलिटी के बारे में कुछ नया कुछ कीजिए और सबको इकट्ठा कीजिए, चाहे वो ट्रैवलर्स हो, चाहे अलग अलग गवर्नमेंट की एजेंसी, वो हम करने जा रहे हैं। उसमें भी हम आपका सभी करके सबसे ज्यादा आप ही वर्चुअल भी जुड़े रहते हैं और कुछ न कुछ नया भी करते रहते हैं, तो उसमें भी आप लोगों का सहयोग चाहिए। ज्यादा कुछ कहते नहीं हुए मैं फिर से अपनी बात को अंतर अपने जाते अपने परम आदरणीय जो अपने एलुमनी है मिस्टर केदार वसी जी जो डायरेक्टर है, और आप हिंदुस्तान कोका कोला बेवरेज के टैलेंट लर्निंग एंड लीडरशिप में आपकी अभी अपनी फर्ज बजा रहे हैं, उसके लिए भी हम अपनी यूनिवर्सिटी की ओर से शुभेच्छाएं प्रदान करते हैं कि आप जहाँ हो वहाँ तन का तो आपको कुछ न कुछ मेडिसिन करती रहेगी, और मन में हम कुछ भी कर सकते हैं क्योंकि अभी माहौल है कोरोना में मन को संवारने का। सबसे ज्यादा आध्यात्मिक हो, चाहे अपने बड़े लोग हो, चाहे गुरुजी हो, चाहे जो भी हो, चाहे अपने छोटे बच्चे हो, सभी के पास अभी हमको इंटरनल इंस्पिरेशन चाहिए। हम इस माहौल में एक 4 दीवार के अंदर, ऐसे हम 7 अरब लोग हैं, मगर एक दीवार के अंदर 7 अरब लोग कैद हो गए हैं, और कैद वो माइंड से कैद हो गए। फिजिकल तो दिखते हैं, इधर उधर हम सब घूमते दिखते हैं, पर आखिर में कहीं भी होता है तो सबसे पहले अच्छा कहाँ लगता है, तो हम लोग अकेले बैठते हैं तब अच्छा लगता है। पहले अलग था कि हम सब ज्यादा भीड़ भाड़ वाले में जाते हैं, लाख स्टूडेंट्स सब खड़े रहते हैं, तब जाके बोलना है तो अच्छा लगता है। अब अच्छा नहीं लगता, अब लगता है कि चलो क्या ही बोलना नहीं है, शांति से बैठो अपने रूम में, चाहो तो सो जाओ, चाहो तो कुछ कार्टून देखो, बाकी कहीं किसी से अपने फैमिली से भी बात करने का कभी कभी मूड नहीं होता। उसी में हम इतनी अपनी यूनिवर्सिटी की वजह से इतने ही हम अपने केदार जी और जो भी अपने एल्यूमनी उनके यही एक शुभेच्छा गिनो के आशीर्वाद गिनो, जो भी गिनो, तो सबका मन तंदुरुस्त रहे। फिर से वंदे मातरम, भारत माता की जय, जय गुजरात। केदार जी प्रणाम।
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir, for your encouraging words. With your permission, do you invite today's speaker, sir?
Okay. So can you hear me clearly?
जी
Okay.
Can you introduce the first?
सर केदार जी, मैडम एक बार आपको इंट्रोड्यूस कर देते हैं।
अच्छा, ओके
स्टार्ट।
जी
So as you all know, Mr. Kedar Vashi is Director, Talent, Learning and Leadership at Hindustan Coca-Cola Beverages. He's a dynamic and visionary leader in the learning and development space with a rich corporate experience of over 25 years. Has a unique blend of sales and L&D experience with world leaders in both training and industry sides, providing a 360-degree perspective on the complete L&D sphere possesses a global outlook and cross-cultural perspective as a result of working on multiple assignments with global team and also coaching and developing global leaders. His credentials include awards like Best Training and Development Professionals of India by the World HRD Congress and Training Leadership Award by Asia Pacific HRM Congress, holds the distinction of being one of the very few speakers from India in the American Society for Training and Development Global Convention in Washington, D.C., has been a national jury member for identifying and awarding India's best lending practices, L&D Leadership League, since its inception. His work experience, presently director, as we have already mentioned, earlier on, Vice President Dale Carnegie, Senior Consultant Training, Frost & Sullivan, Regional Business Head, Holistic, and Marketing Executive at 20th Century Finance Limited. He's an alumnus of IMD Business School, Veer Narmad South Gujarat University, and St. Xavier's College. Because the topic today is being continuously in the learning mode, you can see from the slide which is projected, he has been a continuous learner. He has bagged these many licenses and certifications, few of which we are going to mention here today. You can see on the board these different certificates that he has earned, all from prestigious organizations. And welcome, Kedar, to this webinar. And I hand over to you to please start your presentation. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. Chavda. Thank you so much for, gracing the occasion and also always supporting us. I saw you virtually. जब हमारा alumni function था, we were watching from here. So I'm very happy that you are supporting the department's activities. Thank you so much, Dr. Garg. Renuka ma'am has been, like our class teacher, as I always joke when we were doing the MBA. So it's so nice to see you. I have met Dr. Jaideep also, I think, in one of my visits to the DBIM. And so a warm welcome to everyone. Thank you for inviting me to this prestigious Golden Jubilee of the department. I am here to share whatever little bit I can about my own area of work. I cannot say expertise so far, and I hope that there is some value that you will find in this session. So I'm going to be sharing my screen, and then if you have any questions, you can type it in the chat box. Hopefully, I'll be able to see it, or you can raise your hand, and I will be able to see. Yeah. Okay. Okay, can you see the screen, this? Yes? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So this is what we are going to talk, the future of learning and how the world is changing. And as the Honorable Vice Chancellor was saying, actually, some time back, and I have to tell you that ये हमारा कोई coordination नहीं है. What he said actually is something which is a part of this presentation, because the whole COVID scenario has changed the way we learn. Like he was talking about, it has changed the way we live and the change with the way we interact with people. It is also changing the way we learn. So that is a part of this. So thank you for setting up that context. A little bit of introduction. Renuka ma'am has given a very flattering introduction of me. I don't know what impression you have of me at the end of it, but I did MBA from the same Department of Business Industrial Management in 1988-90. And what you see on the right side of your screen is our entire batch. And this is outside the old department building. And this was the cohort that I studied with, and I am still friends with. So in DBIM, I found not only my degree, so many of my friends, some wonderful teachers, etc. My career journey, ma'am has already shared. I was started with Centurion Bank, then I was in Holistic, Frost & Sullivan, Dale Carnegie, And then for last 13 years or so, I am with Coca-Cola in different spheres. The only thing I want to highlight for all of you is that something that may not be very obvious from this presentation is that my career has been a very, very different trajectory. So I am one of those who didn't follow a set path. So if you saw, my MBA was marketing. Then I joined a financial services company, worked in Centurion Bank of Punjab, and that time it was called something else, in finance. Then my holistic career was about sales. Then Frost & Sullivan was about consulting. Then Dale Carnegie was about training. And now in Coca-Cola, it is about talent and learning and leadership. So if at all there is any message that you want to take, is that if you follow your passion, you will at the end of the period end up in a place which you enjoy. So this is what my career is. But more than this, we are here to talk about the future of learning. And when I talk about future of learning, I have a good news and a bad news for you. So this is a picture of someone. I don't know if anybody recognizes. Can we have, if somebody can recognize, you can unmute and speak. Very close, Raja, correct. So he was actually with the Shahenshah, Bahadur Shah Zafar. So his name is Ustad Ibrahim Zauq. And Ustad Ibrahim Zauq was a contemporary of Mirza Ghalib and Bahadur Shah Zafar. And he was the Ustad of Bahadur Shah Zafar. So Ustad Zauq said a very interesting line. Okay. And he says, कि अब तो घबरा के ये कहते हैं कि मर जाएंगे, अब तो घबरा के ये कहते हैं कि मर जाएंगे, मर के भी चैन न पाया तो किधर जाएंगे. So as funny as it sounds, the reason I'm sharing this with all of you is that I have a good news and a bad news for you. And the good news and the bad news is that after you finish, if you're a student, if you finish your course, you still have to continue learning. That is both good news and the bad news, depending on the way you look at it. But this is what it is. The learning continues, the teaching continues, but what has happened is something different. And I'm going to take you through a very quick journey of what has happened and where it is going. Yeah. So if you see the traditional mode of learning in the organization, right? So there are many people who are working in the organization, and you already know that in the organization, there are departments like training and HR and learning and talent, which continuously keeps on working on upskilling the workforce. But the traditional learning in an organization went through a little bit of change. So what it was some time back, first and foremost, most of the learning which was happening in the corporate world was in-person, instructor-led training sessions, ILT, very similar to what we study in our classes and in college, where there will be a trainer or a facilitator or a faculty or a leader who will be invited to the classroom. There will be nicely laid out tables, round tables with some snacks and some relaxing atmosphere. There will be a day or two of sessions which will happen in person, and people could live interact with the faculty, ask the question, learn about what they want, interact with their peers, leverage each other's experience, and then learn. So this was a traditional learning in an organization, and the whole world used to learn mainly through this way. Of course, there were digital modes of learning, but this constitutes about 80% of the learning activities which happened throughout the world. Also, most of the training in the corporate sector now especially was focused around skills and behaviors, right? So this was all based on whether you call it communication skill, whether you call it influencing, whether you call it a behavior where you are able to lead your teams, or there is a leadership training. Lot of it was focused on skills and behaviors, because people thought that the knowledge can be acquired, either by reading or by attending formal courses, but the corporate world will have skills and behavior as their focus area. The third was that the learning traditionally was a lot recreational. As we joke in the corporate sector, is that many people attend training only for the venue and the menu. because there have been cases when people would inquire to say, where is the training happening? Kahan pe ho raha hai? Kya ho raha hai? What is the lunch? And I remember, an example where, one of my colleagues from US, she was visiting, and she was shocked looking at the whole lunch spread in the training session, saying, if this is the kind of food you feed people, I don't know how are they going to keep awake. So a lot of training in the corporate world, a lot of learning in the corporate world was recreational, where people wanted to, have a good time. Even when people went out to attend sessions on their own, whether it is, time management, or whether it is a leadership, or whether it is an attitude seminar, this would normally happen in a hotel, in a nice setting, people will take a day's break. So that is what the traditional learning was. And more importantly, it was all segmented. So it was very clear as to who's going to learn what is prescribed by the organization for what segment. So this was the traditional learning in an organization. So if you see at the result of it, the traditional learning in an organization may look something like this, right? It would have different segments like staff, junior manager, mid-level, people manager, senior leadership. There will be different interventions for those audiences. And there are different programs, which is also for open enrollment. But this was a very segmented approach. But then all of us were hit with the COVID situation, and and people suddenly found, and it's such a coincidence that the Honorable VC was talking about this exactly, that suddenly people work became virtual. People became individualistic, workplace become complex, because I don't know where is my office ending, where is my home starting, what time is my office hours, what time is my home hours. It was all very mixed. That created conflicts. Also, the new ways of working, something that we have been hearing in the last few years, is that the new ways of working, how is the working changing? And that led to insecurity. So all these factors attacked the work, the population, and it changed a lot of things. Including the way we learn. So let me just correct it a little bit. I wouldn't say that because of this last 2 years, suddenly people adopted a very different way of learning. I would just say that whatever was happening at a slow pace suddenly got accelerated because of COVID. There were online courses, there were virtual sessions, there were people who were connecting with others in a different country, different place, and understand what is happening. But that was happening at a slow pace, 5, 10, 15%. But COVID actually kicked us into the future, and it's not a very flattering visual, but of course it is true that we were kicked into the future, which means that something which would have happened 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line suddenly happened in the span of a few months, and suddenly people had to figure out new ways of working, new ways of learning, new ways of living. So we are going to keep, of course, our discussion restricted to how the world is changing the way it learns, but the catalyst or the trigger has been the COVID pandemic, where people were confined into a short or small space, confined within the four walls of their homes, confined without any external interaction, face to face, and yet the life went on, right? After the initial shock, the organizations continued working, the job demands continued at the same level. And so people had to adopt different ways of working, new ways of working, as they say, and of course, including the new ways of learning. So as a result, today, typically, how would the whole learning scenario look? So I showed you this, right? Let me show you how it is changing to this. Okay, this is how the new bouquet of learning looks like for any organization, or for most of the organization, or individuals also are picking up one or more areas out of this. So there is, of course, e-learning. Then there is mobile learning, which is even shorter and more quicker than e-learning, which people can access on the screen. Then there is micro learning, which is like 2, 3, or 5 minute sessions where people can just quickly either read or either discuss or either learn from each other, but in a quick way. That is what is changing. What I talked about in terms of instructor-led training, ILT, has changed to VILT, virtual instructor-led training, which means that there is, even when you needed somebody to coach, even you need somebody to train you, even you need someone to teach you, that started happening on the screen. And as you know, the technology, Zoom, I think before COVID struck, we would have used Zoom maybe 3, 4, 5 times a year, or maybe a little more depending on your job and your role. And now suddenly everybody, including your grandmother, is on Zoom. There are family celebrations, there are, informal meetings, chai pe charcha between friends, everything happening on Zoom or WebEx or Microsoft Teams. This also gave an opportunity for people to, learn from experts who are no longer available. So I'll give you an example. We had someone, when we were in Gurgaon, we used to attend yoga classes from someone. And when we shifted to Mumbai, we really missed that person. And now all his yoga classes are online for everybody to access, from anybody to access. He is able to keep a watch on what you are doing through the video and also instruct, something that we would never have thought. So that is another very interesting way in which the face of learning is changing to become virtual. This has also given a rise to things like simulation and games, right? So a few years back, if you say that you have to learn from a game, it would sound like an excuse to make fun, to have fun, right? Maybe, and somebody would say, well, you learn sportsmanship from a game, or you learn, teamwork from a game. You don't learn any serious business skills from the game. But now you see what is happening. And this is not just COVID, but the changing face of learning is where a lot of learning is happening through gamification and simulations, which mean that there are business scenarios which is created and people are learning by playing the role of that person actually, and playing a role of CEO, CFO, salesperson, anybody, and trying to play the situation as close as real life. And gamification industry, to be honest, has seen a huge upswing in the last few years. To give you an example, I wouldn't name the company, but there is one of the leading companies in the world into gamification. What they had developed in last 15 years, whatever they developed in last 15 years was 6 games. Okay, and we bought some of them and we played some of them. And in the next 2 years, they have developed 18 new games. So you can imagine that how rapidly the world is changing the way it's learning, and as a result, providers are changing the way that learning need is satisfied. So simulation and gamification is a big way in which the world learns now, because it puts you into as close to a real life situation as we have. And when I talk about the future of learning, what is coming, according to me, you will see that how these gamification and these simulations are also becoming even more sophisticated and even more real life. We'll talk about it towards the end of the discussion. A lot of universities have become accessible to people. So today you can have things like Coursera or edX, where you can learn from, Michigan's Raw School of Business or any other university in the world, Stanford, Harvard. Everybody has got Duke University, IMD. They all have got their programs on edX or Coursera. Most of them are actually free. And if you want a certificate, you pay. These are asynchronous programs where you can take it at your pace. There are synchronous programs where you join a cohort and you learn, and you have now access to the best of the best brains in any desired field to teach you, to train you, and you to develop you. Again, these kind of platforms were existing, but that is also changing part of changing face of learning, where people are becoming liberated. People are getting liberated from the confines of a specific location or a specific faculty. Everything is available. To drive all this, there are technology which is playing a big part. So, things like learning management system, LMS. And if I get a chance, I'm going to show you a little bit of how that looks like. Learning experience platform, which is kind of a better version of learning management system, is making learning fun, interactive, and easily accessible for the world. So technology has started playing a big role, not only in the way skills are being imparted to people, not only in the way people are being engaged, but also in the way the whole learning is administered, whole data mining is happening. All that is because now the learning management system are getting more and more and more sophisticated. Things like Workday, things like SuccessFactors are there to help people analyze the learning trends, help people consume the learning. So both the learning administrators as well as the consumers of learning benefit from the technology which is coming in from LMS or LXP platform. So this is how the changing face of learning looks like. So you can imagine that from the static segmented approach where there are different programs for different people, now there's a bouquet of virtual learning opportunities, not just one, but many, many different things, and driven by the learning management system. You saw a little bit on my introduction that I have been on the jury for the India's Learning and Development Awards called L&D Leadership League. And 4 years back, so we have different categories in this. One of the categories is excellence in digital learning. 4 years back, one of the finalists, so many companies applied and 3 companies were shortlisted as finalists into the digital learning segment. I was shocked and disappointed to find that one company who was shortlisted showed some video clips as their attempt of digital learning, just some videos. You imagine that a company which is just showing some videos to their employees gets shortlisted for the finalist on the digital learning, because that is more than what most of the companies are doing. That was the state of digital learning at that point in time. And today, if you see, when you say mobile learning, micro learning, these are all different technological platforms which is available to people and which people can consume based on their appetite and their choice. So this is how it is rapidly changing the face of learning. Of course, there are other trends which you can see and which I'm going to talk a little bit about, starting with first and foremost, democratization of learning. And this is a new term that you may have heard or may not have heard, and it's very interesting. Democratization of learning. Learning is getting democratized in the two way. And we are in India, we are in the world's largest democracy. And it's something, this is good news for us, that earlier people were nominated, people were selected, people were sent to different programs, people were kind of forced to go to something, which still happens, but now learning is getting more and more democratized. When I say learning is getting democratized, what does it mean? First and foremost, learning becomes not the end goal, but just a means. Earlier, sending somebody for a training session was an end in itself. You send somebody to a training session, hope that there is a magic wand which is being waved and the person will change. Today, the world is realizing that how you learn is an end to is a means to something and not an end. And when it is a means, people have a choice to select what means they want to adopt to learn, right? So people decide what they want to learn. People decide how they want to learn it. And people decide when they want to learn it. So if you see all this is giving people that flexibility and power and control to decide on what they want to learn, when they want to learn, how they want to learn it. So that is the first change that you can see happening, is where learning is getting more and more and more democratized. There is also another aspect of democracy in the learning that you see. In fact, it is better than an actual political democracy, because although, democracy, everybody is supposed to be equal. If you read this Animal Farm, by George Orwell, there's a very poignant statement in that when they say all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. But in the democratization of learning, all animals are equal to a large extent. Better than the political system of most of the countries in the world, right? What it means is that what is available to a vice president of the company is also available to a management trainee of the company or even a junior person, right? Because companies are buying licenses. Companies are buying, and the more licenses you buy, the lesser the cost per employee. So it's a very interesting catch-22 for the company that, if they want to say that I'm going to keep some learning platform only for senior people, they may end up paying a lot more. And for the same money, they can take more licenses if they increase the number of people. So democratization of learning also means that almost, not all, of course, almost all the learning resources are now available to people all across the organization. So there is very little difference. There is very little hierarchy. There is very little favoritism. And if you are a management trainee or you are even a junior person, you could learn more than a VP of your function, and you can go and challenge them for what you learn, because learning is now democratized. So I think that is a huge change that we see happening in the learning. So that is the first big change which is happening, apart from what I showed you previously, that learning is getting democratized. Next, learning is changing from large event to short burst of learning. Okay, what it means is that, as I said earlier, the learning sessions would be 1 day, 2 day, or a few weeks. And I'm saying this is after you finish your studies in the corporate world. At least it will be minimum, it will be half a day or 1 day. Now, if you see, the learning is happening in a very, very, very small bites of learning. And this is also understandable, right? Because all of us have reduced the attention span. We are continuously, I read somewhere that our lives are governed by 4 different screens. The screen of your phone, the screen of your TV, the screen of your computer, and the screen of a multiplex. These 4 screens probably, governs 60-70% of our lives. And now what is happening is that you see all these 4 merging. So what you would go to a theater screen, you can still find on a mobile phone, right? What you could do on a mobile, you could possibly find on a computer. So all these 4 screens are merging. As a result, as you see, our attention span have become shorter. And to support the changing preferences of people, learning is also becoming shorter. So forget the days when learning was 8 hours, 10 hours. I mean, we have organized program which went for 10 days. We have had those programs, and I have led some of those global programs as well. Now, if you have 3 minutes to learn, you can still find a nugget which will give you a learning in 3 minutes. And this is not a small thing, because you must understand that when there is a 3 minutes nuggets of learning, it doesn't mean that you just take, you just take some part from a longer session. If there is a 3 minutes nugget of learning, that 3 minute nugget of learning has to have its own objective and its own deliverable, right? So you should be able to get something concrete at the end of those 3 minutes, not that, you just picked up some 3 minutes from in between. So you can imagine it's like you go to YouTube today, you go to Hotstar today, and you will see there are shorts. There are movies. Earlier, there are movies of 3 hours. Then Hollywood movies, 1.5, 2 hours. Now there are shorts. The shorts are 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 6 minute shorts. And as those shorts go, you cannot just pick up any 6 minutes from the movie and show you that the short has to make sense on its own. That's what is happening with the short burst of learning, is that even a 3 minutes nugget or 3 minutes learning bite has to make sense on its own. And that's what is happening, that the learning is happening in short bursts. People are also pulled in by multiple priorities. So people catch whatever moment they have to learn. And that's the reason why learning has become small. So from digital learning to e-learning, we came to mobile learning, and now we are in micro learning, which is even shorter than e-learning. And when I show you the bouquet of learning platform that we use, you will see that how we are moving from a 1.5 hour course to a 3 minutes nugget. Everything is available to people. So that's a second significant change in which learning is happening, is that learning is happening in the short bites. The third, we are all, I'm no, sorry, I cannot say that. I am a Gujarati, and some of you are Gujarati, and whether we like it or not, the stereotype of Gujaratis is that Gujaratis are very savvy with the money. So as a Gujarati, of course, I am very happy to see that the cost of learning is shrinking. And all of it is shrinking significantly. It is shrinking drastically. In fact, the cost of learning is rapidly approaching zero. The cost of learning is rapidly approaching zero. Some of it is already zero. And even something which is not zero is going to go towards zero, and I'm going to share with you what my vision is in the next few years, how the best of the learning will also become zero. Sorry. As I said, courses from University of Maryland, Harvard, or even Stanford, Ross Business School, IMD, on edX or Coursera are currently available at a fraction of the cost. $1,000, $1,200, $500, or even free. That is one area. Secondly, you see a lot of learning is available on YouTube, on Wikipedia, on Google, right? Yes, the problem is one needs to identify and differentiate what is valuable and what is not. And I think that is the reason why when the shrinking cost of learning approaching zero has also put a responsibility on all the learning professionals to be more of a kind of, a selector or somebody who recommends learning rather than creation of content. So creation of content is going to go out of the window. It's already out of the window. There is so much and more available. The job of a learning professional is to say, okay, this is valuable, this is not, to separate from the diamond from the pebbles, if I may say. So the shrinking cost of learning is a significant difference that we are able to see today. And this is understandable because a lot of learning is driven by technology today. Or a lot of learning is getting governed, and that's a change which I'm talking about. And the cost of technology is coming down. I don't know how many of you remember, but I very, very clearly remember, because I was not able to afford it, when mobile phones first came into our country. I precisely remember how much they costed. They costed 16 rupees 80 paisa for each outgoing minute. And if there are any millennials in this call, you will find this like Baba Adam ke zamane ka story. My son finds it difficult to believe. 16 rupees 80 paisa for each outgoing minute, and 8 rupees 20 paisa for each incoming minute. And that gave the birth to a missed call culture, especially in Gujarat, right? They said, mere ko missed call maar dena. Because missed call, if you pick up the call, it is going to cost you 16 rupees 80 paisa for 1 minute, and that person 8 rupees 20 paisa. So, and missed call will, ghar pe, your son is going out, daughter is going out, said, pahunch ke missed call maar dena. That because the cost was so high. Today, for a few hundred rupees, you get unlimited calls, unlimited data. I think for 300-400 rupees, you have 40 GB data, unlimited call, SMS, no roaming, cost is coming down. Internet, even more interesting. I don't know if somebody remembers, I did the research a little bit when I shared in one of my LinkedIn posts. And I'm not making this number up. Okay, so listen what number I'm saying carefully, which it is true. When internet first came to India, for a non-commercial user, people like you and me, the cost of 128 kbps line, kbps, not mbps, the cost of 128 kbps lease line, which is more like your fiber optic, not quality-wise, exclusive line which is coming to you. So you don't have to dial, the line is to you, like what we have right now. The cost of 128 kbps line for 1 year was 10 lakh rupees. That's right. I'm not making this up. 128 kbps, 1 year, 10 lakh rupees is what you would pay. So obviously individuals will have no way to paying that. Today, I'm sure all of you have like, I don't know, 12, 15,000 rupees for 40, 50, 60 Mbps lines, unlimited data. You can imagine the cost. Similarly, the cost of learning is also following when the cost is shrinking. And I say it is going to go to zero, and I'm going to explain you how I think it is going to go to zero. But that is a significant way the learning is changing. The fourth one is now the role of a teacher and a learner is getting more and more hazy. The line is distinction getting more and more, line is getting obliterated. You know, earlier I remember when I joined a company called Dale Carnegie Training, and I was sent for many senior leadership programs for my seniors, for very senior leaders. And I was told by few people that you look very young. You know, I have, and you can see I have gray hair. I have had a gray hair since a long time. And people told me that your gray hair is your asset when you go for a leadership training, because people don't trust a younger person when he or she comes and talks to them about leadership or skill or any other skills. Today, the line between who can teach and who can learn is getting obliterated. Today, what is happening is that your value comes for your value as a teacher or as a coach comes not from your position, not from your role, not from your age, of course, by any means, but from your expertise. And there are a number of times when there are much younger people who come and teach certain skills and certain knowledge to people who are much more senior in terms of age to them, right? Today, you can see that the world is becoming more network. And I'm not talking about computer network. The organization structure that you see today, and I don't know, I mean, we had Kuhn's as a Principles of Management book, and I think Fred Luthans was the OB book. Today, if you see, then they had a typical structure. It showed that there is a 1 layer, 2 layer, 3 layer. Today, if you see the corporate organization structure is becoming more and more network. That means there are no clear lines. There are no clear hierarchies. It is all cross. It's like a spider's web. People become expert or people become senior or people become leads based on their expertise. So if I bring an expertise into one area, I will lead a project in that area. But somebody 3 levels junior to me brings expertise into another area, he or she will become the lead of that project. So that is exactly what is happening, is that the role of teacher and learner is getting reversed and getting more and more obliterated. In fact, we have that, and we have also done it in some of our senior leadership program. 2 things. So first and foremost, earlier when we used to do, kind of a leadership program, we would invite a panel of senior leaders for a group discussion as a part of the learning program. So there will be 5 or 6 senior leaders sitting on a dais or joining virtually, and we would conduct a group discussion among them asking them to share their expertise, their learning, their knowledge. We have shifted, or we have added another dimension, that now we also invite some millennials for a panel discussion. So now what happens, people on the stage, physically or virtually, are way junior in terms of age and experience compared to people in the audience. And people in the audience, on my side of the age divide, trying to understand as to what drives the people on the stage, what motivates them, what are they looking for. We actually, in one of the global programs that I used to lead in Atlanta, which is our headquarters, we had a session where we flew people from all over the world who were millennials, who were much younger than our senior most guys, and they would on the stage sit and share with equal confidence and with equal ease about what drives them, what are they looking for, and how they need to be managed. So this is what is happening, that the role reversal in terms of junior or younger people teaching senior or elder people is increasing. There are cases we have put younger mentees. So now what happens is each of a management trainee has one of the mentored as senior, and each of this leads HR leadership team or senior leadership team, I should say, all of us have a younger mentor. So I have a younger mentee to whom I am a mentor. I also have a young person who is my mentor in the areas of, social marketing, in the area of being digitally savvy, in the area of how do we become employer of a choice on social media, how do we increase our social media presence. So my young mentor is more savvy to me than this, and he or she is my mentor in those areas. So the role is reversing, is how the learning is changing. And one more area when the learning is changing is that we are going to transversal skills. What it means is that now the skills are no longer segregated by levels or by functional. Now multidisciplinary approach is required. And Renuka ma'am talked about VUCA world. In VUCA world, you don't know where is the next missile going to come from. There is Andy Grove, who is a founder of Intel, almost 20 years back wrote a book saying only the paranoid survive. And that was 20 years back. So today you don't know what skills is needed. Today you don't know what skill is going to be very, very valuable suddenly. And that's why now people are getting more and more into transversal skills, which means that it is very difficult to bucket the skills into something. I don't know if you have read or if you heard the speech from Steve Jobs. I think he gave it in Stanford. And then where he talked about connecting the dots. And I think based on that speech, somebody also wrote a book saying connect the dots. One of the examples Steve Jobs said is that when he was on the campus, he didn't have a home to go back to. And so that he could continue staying in a campus, he went and joined a calligraphy class. And he says, this is completely a different direction than what I was. I was a software guy, I was a techie. And I joined a class of calligraphy, how to write in cursive and how to write those calligraphic letters, just so that I can be on the campus. And he says, I forgot about it after the course was over and my regular classes started. But he says, when I was designing my computers, and this is way before iPhone, even if you have seen the earlier generation iMacs or Apple Mac desktop, they were visually stunning compared to anything else. And that is what Apple has continued over the years. Visually, they are stunning. And Steve Jobs said famously that my training in calligraphy has helped me, has sensitized me to the sense of form and curves and the visual beauty, and that has come handy when I'm designing my computer. So you can see now transversal skill is what the world is going to. So this is how the world is changing the way it is learning. Some of the ways in which it is learning. So today, learning has become learning at arm's length of desire. When I joined Coca-Cola, I heard that our mission, our vision as a beverage maker is to make our beverages available at arm's length of desire. So if you feel like drinking a juice, it should be available to you at arm's length of desire. If you feel like drinking water, it should be available to you at arm's length of desire. If you want to drink a carbonated drink, it should be available to you at arm's length of desire. Today, learning is changing and learning is available to people at arm's length of desire. This is just a screenshot of what we offer our employees. And you said there are literally thousands of courses, okay? Which is LinkedIn Learning, Harvard Managed Mentor, Spark, whatever you see here. This is all available to the employees. And as I was talking to you about democratization of learning, anybody with a license can access these programs. Now, the problem is not, I don't have enough. Now, the problem is I have too much. And that is the problem the companies and the world is solving in a different way. I will not go there. But the point is this. Now, you want to learn anywhere, anytime, at your choice, on your topic. It is just available to you at arm's length of desire. You just zip out your phone, and just the way you use your phone for entertainment, for banking, for gaming, everything, you use it for learning because it is just available to you at arm's length of desire. So the changing face of learning, my friend, is that from from a place where the learner had to go somewhere to learn. Now the learning has come to the learner at arm's length of desire, and he or she has enough opportunities to learn whenever, wherever, and however the person wants. So this is what is happening. I also wanted to share with you a couple of exciting technologies which is changing the way of learning. These are recently coming in. They have been around for some time, but now the companies are realizing and more potential. And so these are the technologies that I know. There are many more technologies which is coming. One of them is smart tracking. So as learning is becoming more and more driven on the screen, the problem of attention also is getting more severe, right? And if you have small kids in your home or you've got students here, you know that in many of the session, people just join, then they switch off the camera, and then they kind of, do whatever they want to do, right? Even in the e-learning, which was mandatory, and also people have shorter span, what would happen? You are taking an e-learning course, and then you start the course, and then you keep on doing something else because the course is going to go on. The course may require you to interact a little bit, so you will interact in between and again do something or get distracted by the phone. Smart tracking technology already is available where during the e-learning course, where nobody is teaching, you are taking the course on your own. The webcam of your computer tracks your eyeballs. The webcam tracks your eyeballs, and the moment your head turns, the screen freezes. When you come back, the screen starts. The moment you start looking somewhere else, the screen will stop and the screen will resume when you come back. In fact, this technology has also started coming in some of the phones. But smart tracking is a way in which companies are ensuring or people are ensuring that they leverage the webcam of the computer to make sure that the course is not getting wasted and you are looking at the screen. That's a technology in which the learning is changing. Another way the learning is changing is adaptive learning. So for a typical e-learning course, what would happen? And this is a challenge that faced all the people, including professors or everybody, right? That in a class, different people are at different level. But when you are delivering a learning session or when people are learning on their own, everything is designed for everyone, which means that, so how do I put it? It's like this. In a classroom, there are people at this level and there are people at this level. And ideally, the job of a learning is to keep this people go higher and this people go higher. But what happens is, sorry, let me just put it on a airplane mode. What happens is today, that people are either getting disconnected because what is being taught is too simple, or people who are behind find it too complicated. To solve this problem, a latest technology which you see now happening in the field of learning is adaptive learning. So what happens in the adaptive learning is everybody starts the same course online. So, if you've taken any course, anything on YouTube or anything on Harvard or let me say anything on Udemy or anything on your LinkedIn Learning, you know that the course is exactly the same. It is proceeding in one single path. If you want, you can skip something. But the course is just going in its own linear path. It is asking you a question only when it is programmed to ask you a question. It will ask the same question to everyone who is taking the course, irrespective of where they are. Adaptive learning is that all 20 people, everybody starts the course at their own time, but the course will change its course. Let me rephrase it. The learning path will change based on the learner. So I'll give you a simple example that let's say 10 of us start a adaptive learning course on coaching. Now, or let me put it very simple. Let's say 10 of us start an adaptive learning course on communication. Okay. Now, after the first 4 or 5 or 6 minutes, the program is already trying to understand your skill levels in different areas of communication. So after 5, 6, there will be some quizzes, some questions here and there. And in 5, 6, 7 minutes, the artificial intelligence will decide that Kedar is good in speaking, but he is weak in listening. So then onwards, the course will shorten the part of speaking to me, because the course has decided that I am good at it. I don't need a lot of more inputs. And if they give me more inputs, I will get bored, but they will increase the amount of content on listening, which is my weak area. Compare that to somebody else who is very strong in listening, but who needs assertiveness. The course will increase the content on assertiveness and reduce the course on listening. So adaptive learning technology is an amazing innovation that you see, which is coming in the way of learning, where the course and artificial intelligence algorithms will decide as to what path you will take based on where you are. So at every time, the learning is so more relevant to you and so much more focused on to where you are, compared to like one size fits all. So that is another really interesting learning technology which is coming. And I'm sure there are many more technologies coming. And so finally, where is it going? So what you see is already coming. Okay. What you see is already coming. And okay, I can see a question. Great. Somebody has asked a question. I'll come back to it just in a moment. So basically, this is what we have seen is already happening right now. Now, where is it going? And this is what my assumption is. So there's no base of it. I'm sure I will be, maybe I'm retired, but I'll still be around to see this happening, because this is not very far. So yes, so my analysis and my analogy of the way learning is going is this. Yesterday, the learning was like PVR cinemas. Okay, and I'm just using an analogy that all of us understand for ease. Why do I say it was like PVR cinemas, or it was like INOX, or it was whatever? Yesterday, there were, what happens in a theater, right? There are shows. In fact, I came from a time when every day there were 4 shows, 12, 3, 6, 9, or 12:30, 3, 4 shows. Matinee, first, second, third. That's the way the show used to work. Now the show timings are all jumbled up, because they are trying to make best use of the multiplex timing. Yesterday, the learning was like PVR cinemas, because what would happen is there is an event which is happening at a predetermined time. All who want to attend that event, want to watch that movie, will buy the ticket and attend that event together. So all 20 of us who want to watch, let's say, RRR, which is the latest release, we have to go to PVR, we select a show when it is running, and all 20 of us will go through the same experience, right? That's where the learning was happening. There is a training happening on communication skills at 15th of December from 9:30 to 6:30 in XYZ conference hall or a hotel. Everybody who wants to attend has to go and attend that, and everybody has to go through the same path. That was a path of learning, according to me. That is still happening, but today the learning is more like Netflix. Why I'm saying it is more like Netflix is now there is so much of content available. You have to pay a small fee to subscribe, but after that, you decide what you want to watch. You decide when you want to watch. You decide, when you want to watch, when you want to stop, when you want to resume again. It's up to you. So now from PVR, learning has come like Netflix, where vast choice is available. You have to pay some small money to access the library, and then you decide what, where, when, how you want to learn. But according to me, this is also not the end. Of course, there is no end, but this is also going to go away very soon. And the learning is going to move from being Netflix to Xbox or a PlayStation. The problem with Netflix today is that you cannot interact. And there are some interactive, of course, movies we have seen where you, even some of the Black Mirror episode where you select 1 or 2 options, but that's it. What happens in a video game? What happens in a PlayStation? What happens in Xbox? You are continuously interacting with the game, right? You're continuously interacting, and the way you interact, the game interacts. The future of learning is like Xbox. So what is going to happen? And this is a scenario I will imagine. And if someday you experience this scenario, remember you heard it here first. And I am genuinely hoping that I will get to experience this scenario sometime. So this is what I imagine that's going to happen. Miss X, let's say Miss Seema, just take name. Miss Seema is a salesperson working for, I don't know, working for some tea company, whatever, okay? And she has to be trained on how to improve or how to become a salesperson. So Miss Seema will have a virtual console, a VR console that she is going to wear. And at the choice of her, at her choosing, she will decide. So Miss Seema is taking a metro from a Warsaw station to Ghatkopar station in Mumbai. She boards a train at Warsaw station. She zips out her virtual console and she is just wearing the console with a mic here, okay, oblivious to the world outside. On the console, now Seema's avatar will start playing. So in the console, Seema will see her avatar, which looks like her, which dresses like her, walking into a client's office. Okay, and then she will be on a reception. She will go to meet the client. She will start making the speech. The client will react. And she is going to respond in her real voice, right? So the learning module is going to understand what she is saying by speech recognition. The programming or the various decision trees in the system will decide that if Seema says this, the client will say this. If Seema says this, the client will say this. And this is not complicated at all, right? This is already existing. Somebody has to put all this together. And then based on how Seema does, the client will agree to buy or not agree to buy. So everything right now, the feedback, the interaction, the right and wrong versions. If Seema wants, she can go back and she can replay, and she will, when she is replaying, wherever she made a wrong decision, the video will pause. A guru or somebody would come and say, hey, Seema, this is what you should have done. Would you like to do it and play again? Seema would play this again and see what is happening. So this is very real. The Seema will interact with the game through her voice or gesture. The game, or it's not even a game. It's not a game. It's a real life scenario, actually. It's not a game. Seema will interact in that real life scenario in the virtual reality world through her voice, through her action, through her behavior. She will get continuous feedback, and the virtual scenario will proceed like real life, and Seema will learn like this. This is the technology part, but the cost. And all this will come at zero cost to Seema or to anybody else. You know why? Because what is going to happen is this. Let's say Coca-Cola, because I work for that company. So let's say, let's take a name, OnePlus gaming design company will come to Coca-Cola and say, hey, listen, we are going to build a game on sales. Would you like some product placement? Yes. Then you have to place, let's say, 1 crore, 2 crore, 5 crore, X amount. So Coca-Cola pays them. So now what happens? Seema is wearing that virtual reality headset. She walks into the client's office. She's at the reception and she says, can I see Mr. XYZ or Miss XYZ as my client? Before Seema goes to the client, the receptionist will say, sure, have a moment, wait for a moment. And she will direct her to a cooler with all Coca-Cola product and say, would you like to refresh yourself? Depending on how much you want to program things. If you see, this is a new drink, which is mango aam panna, and I love it. Ma'am, would you like to try that? Seema might say yes, no, whatever. And the Coca-Cola would have paid the gaming company a few $1 million for this, and Seema will proceed. And similarly, she goes somewhere, the client is working on a Dell computer, and she said, oh, sorry, just give me 2 moments. And you can see the Dell computer, and client shuts down and said, well, ever since I bought this Dell computer, let me tell you, my life has become a cakewalk. So Dell will pay the company for this. So there is no cost to Seema. For Dell or Coca-Cola or any company would pay the gaming company or forget gaming company, the content design company money to put the product placement. So to the end user, the cost is zero. She or he just has to watch the ad. And on top of it, the content design company will also make money by monetizing the data that it is collecting. So the company who is designing the content will get this money from product sponsorship, from monetizing the data. To the user, it is free. So imagine a scenario, you want to learn something, you put on your virtual reality, you are sitting in an armchair, you learn something, you kind of play that scenario in real life, and at the end of it, doesn't cost you anything. To me, that is the future of learning. Let's see how soon we see it. I will officially retire in 6 years, and I'm hoping that before I retire in 6 years, I will be able to put this technology to use. If not, at least till the time I am in this world, I definitely would see this technology is what my feeling. So that's all about from my side. We have about 20-25 minutes for Q&A. So I'm happy to take a Q&A. I can see one question in the chat, but if you have any other questions, please go ahead. Okay. Let me answer the first question, and please feel free to type the question because I'm happy to interact. This is all me speaking. I'm not used to so much. So what said, hi Kedar, wonderful company of future of learning. Big corporates like L&T has also aligned to the new way of learning. We follow TNI-based courses. However, I personally feel it's overcrowding now. You will agree that anything in excess is less effective. How do we measure the effectiveness of mutual benefit? Yes, Pinakin. So that's what we call the problem of plenty, right? So what Pinakin is saying that there is so much of happening that now it has tipped the effectiveness curve and it's becoming less effective. So yes, Pinakin, I agree that there is a problem of plenty which is coming, and as I said, the job of any learning professional or the talent teams in the organization is now to use their expertise to differentiate the diamonds from the pebbles. So the diamonds from the pebbles is the job of the training managers in the company, who will say, this is what we recommend from the thousands of the courses. Even after that, somebody wants to go and learn something else, it is up to them, but this is our recommendation. As far as measuring the effectiveness is concerned, companies are getting aware of something called learner fatigue. So it's something that I always tell my team is that everybody has mental learning dollars to spend. Okay, which means that let's say if you give me, if Netflix has thousands of movies, doesn't mean I will want to watch. I may want to watch actually, but doesn't mean that I can watch those movies. I cannot every day I work, I cannot watch for 6 hours of video. So what I have to do, I have to decide what 1 hour I'm going to watch. And that's where somebody recommending me or my choice is going to be very crucial as to what is going to watch. So the effectiveness of the mutual benefit is obviously in terms of how the audience or your target audience is spending their own learning dollars. What are they spending it on? And if you want to measure the effectiveness traditionally, which is the L1, L2, L3, L4, or in simpler words, knowledge, learning, behavior, results, and money. So we can still measure the effectiveness of learning as to, there is a lot of analytics that you can do, is a benefit of technology. We do a lot of analytics in the back end to see that what kind of patterns is emerging. How many courses, I'm just going to keep it simple for everyone is, for example, if there are 50 courses on communication, after a while, analytics will tell me that which course is running its full length and which course is most frequently stopped. Now that will tell me that what is the effectiveness of which course and what I can keep, what I can take out. And this is just a simple analytics I'm talking about. I think going forward, data analytics is going to play a crucial role in measuring the effectiveness of training. It is going to happen. It has already started happening. And every learning professional has to analyze the data which is available and which is now being captured to decide what should be offered. So that's how I think is what companies will and continue to measure the effectiveness of learning based on the analytics that is available. Any other questions? Or you guys have kind of, as I was talking, switch on the videos and then gone away to whatever that you're doing. Any other questions? Anybody? I'm happy to take it.
To propose a vote of thanks if nobody is asking any questions. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes, Manish bhai.
Yeah. So, see, basically the problem you already talked about this smart tracking technology, which actually is a really a great feature, because we often find students are, as you said just now, they're just behind the camera. Camera is also off, and now you do not know whether the people are there attending or not at all. And sometimes I keep asking in between some questions, but sometimes there is no response also. And that time, whether a trainer, coach, or a teacher, whosoever he is, who is delivering the session, will get slightly demotivated whether people are learning or not. So, do you have any such technology? Smart tracking, probably it might take for our university to go some more time before we adopt it. But any other practical things that we could do probably to keep those people alive and attentive to session, apart from, of course, the content of the topic.
Sir. Thank you for that. Nice seeing you, sir. Yes, and what you said is definitely a very real problem. And as we experienced, right, I'm asking a question, and now I said a Q&A is open and nobody's asking, so I don't know. I don't know about technology. There are technologies, for example, when people are taking, now many competitive exams are also happening online. And I believe, I have not taken it, but I believe, but there are, in between, you have to move the camera, you have to show where are, because you want to make sure that nobody is helping that person. So I think, and I don't remember the company, if you want, I can find out and share with you. There are companies who is specializing in taking online exams and which will making sure that no hanky-panky is happening. But so that is happening. The thing is, sir, in corporate world, the little bit of difference is that, as I was talking about democratization of learning, we have to democratize, saying, okay, if somebody doesn't want to learn, it is their choice. So, of course, in academics, it is different because you have to make sure that people are given inputs, right? Because that's a kind of deliverables. But in the corporate, the deliverables is enable, help. So and both are required. So in academic institutes, it is a job of the academicians to make sure that the required information is given, required information is required knowledge is given. There is no democratization because this is what people have come here for. In the corporate world, a slightly easier situation for us is because now if you just have to do a little mental adjustment that you have to help people learn. So only if you want to learn, you learn. So now we don't worry if somebody is disconnected the phone or somebody is going, because the point is, except for a mandatory training like ethics and compliance, which is mandatory. People choose what to learn, and we have also even gone out and taken out the learning hours from our KRA, saying that somebody doesn't want to learn, it is up to them. Ultimately, it is about performance. So if there is no performance, there is not done. So I think that's a situation which is there. So unfortunately, I don't have access to technology on what can stop this. But I can let me see if my record, I can share with you if I can say that company which is kind of managing online exams. Yeah,
at least on the part of online examination, I have observed the seriousness, because I keep telling everybody to keep the cameras on, and the moment your camera is off, I'll be throwing you out of this room and you're not allowed. So those serious matters, they are also serious, but the routine regular classes, sometimes we find
सर हमारा था ना, हम भी जब DBIM में पढ़ते थे तो अटेंडेंस कंपलसरी था, एंड वी वुड, अगर आपने क्लास में नहीं हो तो अटेंडेंस नहीं लगेगा, तो उसके लिए तो क्लास में रहना ही पड़ता है. So that's a simple thing, saying that if I don't see your face, your attendance is not there. Exactly. That we have experienced. It's just changing into virtual.
True. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Sure. I see a question on chat, and Sugata, you also raised a hand. So I'll go to Suja's question on the chat, and then I'm going to come back to you. Suja is saying there's a lot of hue and cry on AI likely to replace human job. Your take on how artificial learning can be used for training professionals to view it as an aid of learning rather than as a competitor to replace them in the corporate. Very interesting question, Suja. So Suja is asking whether you see the technology replacing people, the learning professionals. I don't see the technology replacing the human touch or human judgment, because, as I said, now more and more, ironically, what is happening is with more and more options available, you need someone you trust to tell you what is there. So currently also, I think technology is not replacing people, but the role is changing. The role from a learning professional is changing from teacher or trainer to enabler. So I think that is what is going to happen. I don't think that this technology will replace people, because there will always be need for a human touch. Learning is as much a right brain activity as a left brain activity, and learning needs as much of knowledge, empathy as a knowledge. And these are the things that an artificial intelligence system cannot provide. Artificial intelligence system cannot provide the sensitivity that a teacher or a professor exhibits to a particular student. And to me, those things have to go hand in hand. So, and it would be unfortunate if people start missing that. But short answer is, I don't see technology replacing, but yes, the role is changing, and now the AI or artificial learning and learning professionals have to work in tandem, and the learning professionals also have to change their competencies. Right? Okay, Sugata, you can go ahead.
So yeah, so basically, to go on about what Dr. Manish Sidhpura was also talking about. We conduct a lot of training for our distributors or even otherwise, and today, like most places, we do these offline, online. But what we found, which really works, are pop quizzes at the end. Even internally, when we conduct courses or whatever it is, we always have a set of question and answers, and you have set a parameter, say minimum pass percentage of 80% or whatever, or else you go back and take this course again. So these are a few things that we believe have worked very well, which can be done in Dr. Manish Sidhpura's case. Pop quizzes, for example, or a short set of questions which they then need to answer, and that would actually see how good the feedback, and that also helps, because you also get a feedback on the teaching content, because you might find that like these guys have not been able to understand because a whole group of people may have come forward and like not given the right answer. So then like you do, the teacher then does a self-evaluate. So it works like that. So that's just a suggestion.
Yes. Yeah, very true. In fact, so what you said is correct. And in fact, today, there are a lot of platforms available. I don't know, we don't use Zoom so much, but we use Microsoft Teams, and there are already inbuilt polls available where you can give the polls. Previously, we used to use things like Mentimeter.com free, Kahoot, where, throughout the session, you can ask people to go on to Menti and do interactive. You can take a poll, you can run a quiz, you can even take an opinion. In fact, I did seriously consider to use Menti in this session, to make it double way interactive. But then I didn't know the audience, so I wasn't very sure to use it. But there are these things available. In fact, I will send you the link, Manish Bhai, where you can use it. The free software available, apps available. People can answer. You can get word cloud. You can create a competition as to who gave the first answer, who gave the correct answer. A lot of things are available on things like Menti or Kahoot. Yes. There is a question from Dr. Snehal Mistry. How the challenges of virtual control in class will be met? I'm not very sure I understand virtual control. So anyway, so I can talk from my experience that, to be honest, control is something that we had to very reluctantly give up, at least in the corporate sector. We used to, as I said again, the learning is becoming more and more democratic. There is less and less control and more voluntary behavior. But yes, there is a problem of unruly behavior, and I think that by restricting the access, those things can be managed. But that's what I understand about control. But as a learning professional, I believe, and I tell my team that we have to give up control. We have to give as much control as we can, because the learning is democratic. People will decide how they want to learn, and if they don't want, we have to respect that. So. Okay, we can take, I have about 5-7 minutes more. If there are more questions, I can take it, or we can call it a day. I can give you, as they say, 30 minutes. Oh, sorry, Dhaval has raised a hand. Sorry, Dhaval.
Sir, am I audible? Dhaval Mehta,
Yes.
sir, hello.
Yes, you are.
Sir, I am a faculty in DBIM, Dr. Dhaval Mehta. And my
Hi.
simple question is that man is a social animal. And by infusing such type of training sessions, what we have observed is that the present students are not able to communicate. Their communication has gone down drastically down. The reason is that because of such type of training programs, or because of in these 2 years, we have seen that in such type of sessions, there is no touch with other colleagues, and therefore they are not able to communicate properly. Is it the same thing observed by you also, sir?
So that is very interesting, Dhaval, because I have observed. Okay, let me put it like this: have I observed that the way the people are interacting through screen is changing? I'm saying changing the way they communicate. Yes, but what I feel is this: see, yes, everybody is a social animal, but you see how people interact socially is changing. So when I see youngsters playing on the phone, and I'm sure all of you know, you tell your child don't play on the phone. Maybe he or she is just interacting with the friend, just the way we would in some time back, like the way we would when we were in DBIM. In the break, we will go to the canteen, which was a dome-shaped canteen. We'll talk there. Now, this generation possibly is talking on WhatsApp or on a different platform that even I'm not aware of. So what I'm saying is that interaction is meeting, the face-to-face is not happening. As a result, is their communication style changing? Yes, I agree. Because if you don't have practice of a face-to-face communication, you will not be good in face-to-face communication. But the caveat is this: maybe they may not be required also to face-to-face communicate so much. Because see, humans, I feel humans are value-seeking magnets. Humans will very naturally gravitate to something which gets value. So if people feel that they are not able to communicate face-to-face and that is costing them, they will find out ways to learn this. But today it is not happening because their interaction is on screen, their learning is on screen, and a lot of communication is also on screen. So for example, earlier you want to get selected for the job, you have to perform good in the interview. Today you still have to do good in the interview, but in the first filtering is happening by a software or a robot or a bot, where if you don't know how to write the right words in your resume will never get through. So now the skills of communication is changing. So I agree that lack of face-to-face communication is impacting people's ability to communicate face-to-face. However, what I'm not sure about is whether they are required to communicate face-to-face so much going forward. So that's what my take on this is.
Thank you, sir.
So just to add on, sorry to butt in, just to add on, Mr. Mehta, we've also seen that the millennials and generally the Gen Z, as we call them, they have stopped communicating verbally. I mean, like most of their communication today is through social media and WhatsApp chats and stuff like that. The visual communication concepts of theirs have actually gone down. So if you see a group of 4, 5, 6 of them sitting in a coffee shop, while they're all sitting together, they continue to use their phones and use WhatsApps or any other social media and communicate to the whole world. And they might go, yeah, okay, and all that. So therefore, the mode of communication also is changing, is what we notice.
Sir, yeah. what I have observed is, hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
The thing is, भीड़ में भी अकेला रहता है इंसान, ऐसी हालत हो गई है सर.
हाँ, वो तो सही है, वो तो बिल्कुल सही है. And it is having its own impact. Okay.
Yeah.
In social, in psychological, in fact, just a side note, that as a learning team, in this COVID situation, we had to focus a lot on well-being of our people, not just skill building. So the role of a learning professional in the first few months of COVID changed from building skills to providing people well-being. And when we say well-being, it is physical, mental, emotional, intellectual well-being. That's the way the role is changing. So anyways, I see, okay. Okay, so I think that's all the questions. I see, unless Sobhuta, you have your hand raised. Anything you want to add? Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm done.
Okay, cool. All right, so that's all from my side. I will be happy to hand it over to, I don't know, Renuka ma'am or anybody else for the closure. Thank you so much for being such nice audience. I am assuming that you didn't ask questions because you were happy with what you heard, not because you didn't understand, but I think it's very exciting time for all the learning professionals and as an individuals about how the future is changing. And thank you, Renuka ma'am, for giving me this opportunity to interact with people. Thank you, Honorable Vice Chancellor, for being here for the session and inaugurating this. And also, all the faculty, Manish Bhai, I see, Dr. Jaideep Chaudhary was there, Dhaval Bhai, or whoever is here that I have not met. Thank you so much for being there. Over to you, ma'am.
So, Kedar sir, this is Anand Bhatnagar. Like you, I'm also a student of Renuka ma'am and a student of DBIM. While I passed DBIM a few years after you, I was all ears to you while you were speaking and loved the example of how from giving a missed call, because it costed 16 rupees and 80 paisa to where we are today, and how from PVR, we will now graduate to Xbox. Thank you for sharing those lovely insights. I'm also in the field of learning. So as a fellow learner, I found great insights in what you said. So would want to thank you on behalf of Renuka ma'am, Vice Chancellor sir, and DBIM and the Veer Narmad SGU for your time. It was an absolute honor and privilege to have heard you. And I'm sure it has kind of ignited some gray cells. While the hairs are gray, the cells remain gray for us to take it forward. So thank you so much. It was an absolute honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
We also take the opportunity to thank the support staff for this live streaming of this particular session. So thank you, everyone. The Vice Chancellor, sir, Anand Bhatnagar, Kedar, you definitely very excellent today. As usual, it was nice hearing you. All the participants have made it so very interactive. Thank you for being here. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.